Today we're really lucky we have Celia with us, and she has some amazing things that I really would like you to hear. Celia, please go ahead.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for inviting me to speak to you all today about what my story is of what I call the good life. It's based on a story that I wrote recently about my journey over the past 10 years towards finding balance and aliveness and alignment. So the story begins in March 2014. At the time, I was a successful lawyer. I was a partner in a global law firm. I was doing great things at work. I was leading very meaningful change in the workplace, and I was seeking to do good in the world. That, at the time, was my definition of a good life. I was kind, I was giving, I was full of integrity, I was determined to do my best and to give my best to the world and to those around me. I was working extremely hard. I was also raising a family and giving life, everything in life, my all, my biggest efforts. The story of my good life began in March 2014. I was trekking to Everest Base Camp. And as we set off on the start of the trek, we stopped and we paid tribute to the words of the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. What I didn't know as we stepped onto the trail that day were that those were also my first steps of a major transformation and a new journey in my life. The beauty of the Himalayas is unbelievably breathtaking. But what's also breathtaking is the altitude. The lack of oxygen makes it hard to breathe. You need to go slowly, breathe deeply, and submit to the pace that the altitude demands. This was a game changer for me. I slowed right down. I quietened my competitive desire to walk quickly, and I made space in my overthinking mind. My eyes and my senses opened to the extraordinary beauty that was all around, to connecting with the people I was with, and to feeling into the special energy of the Himalayas. It was incredibly magical, and I felt alive. I returned home with the intent to slow things down. I made substantive changes in the routines in my life, and I studied mindfulness. But the damage to my body had already been set in stone. It was one Sunday morning in January 2016, and I awoke with full-blown adrenal fatigue. My adrenals were shot. If I likened myself to a car, it felt as though I had run out of petrol. The tank was completely empty. Losing my health in this way was absolutely devastating, but it's been the biggest gift of my life. It sent me on a healing journey, of which the Everest experience was just the first taster. It's caused me to connect with my inner self, realign my whole way of being, and it's also awakened my spiritual side. It's been an exploration of discovery, of change, and of well-being. I've transformed how I live and how I make decisions.
Wow. That is amazing. Boy. I've got swelling up in tears in my eyes, and it's just magnificent. Do you have any steps of what you actually have been able to change, or what some of the results of that? Can you share any of those with us?
Sure. It's true to say that I've now changed up most things in my life. I've changed up my belief system, and I've changed up my priorities in life. It has required me to make some bold choices, to have conversations previously I probably wouldn't have had, and to walk away from some things that I did love. It's hard to distill it into any single thing or things, but I will give you some headline discoveries of some of the major areas which I have transformed and that I now incorporate into my life as a way of being.
Oh, brilliant. You're going to share this with our people out there?
Sure.
Oh, fabulous. Please go ahead.
So I've got 8 for you.
Yeah.
The first one is nutrition. So my previous relationship with food was less than ideal. I knew that, which is the interesting thing, but I didn't do anything about it. I relied on milk lattes to fill me up and to fuel me. I skipped meals, and I didn't take any notice of what was in the food that I was eating or its effect that it was having on my body. Yet, in the course of this healing journey, food has been one of the things that I've turned to heal my body. I now eat organic, nutritionally rich and nourishing and non-harmful food. It's been a major contributor to build up my immune system and to heal my broken body. In fact, when I completely revolutionised my diet, it took only 3 months for me to get off all of my meds, which was an incredibly profound change. And the other magic that's come out of it is that I love food more than I ever have in my life. I have such a good relationship to it now. It's been difficult because I have had to wean myself off some foods that I loved. I've stopped drinking coffees. After stopping drinking coffees, I turned to chai lattes, which were also no good. So I've stopped drinking those and all sorts of other things that I've actually now weaned myself from, because when I felt into my body, I knew they weren't doing me any good. But wow, has it transformed my relationship with food, and wow, have I never had as much joy eating and cooking as I ever have before.
That's wonderful.
The next category is rest and self-care. I mentioned earlier, I used the word I'm a person of great integrity. That's correct to the outer world, but not to my inner world. I didn't show integrity towards myself. I ignored the signals that my body had been sending me for years. Now I safeguard my body as a number one priority. I no longer see rest as laziness, but I listen to my body, and when it calls for rest, I give it rest. Self-care had also never been on the agenda for me. I gave out to others, I didn't give back to myself. Now I nurture myself with self-love and self-care every single day. And when my well is full, I can give out to the world. When my well needs replenishment, I turn it back on myself and I give it to myself.
May I ask, how do you know that?
My body tells me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
My body tells me. My well tells me when it's drying up. Sometimes I feel absolutely exhausted,
yes,
or I feel overwhelmed, and I know I need to take some time out. It may not be a day in bed, could be. Sometimes it's 10 minutes of stillness. Sometimes it's just putting on some beautiful music that resonates throughout my body. All sorts of ways that I nurture myself now.
That's great, because other people can do that too.
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and self-care can be done, doesn't have to be expensive necessarily. You know, it's not necessarily about going off and having a massage or going to a day spa. It can literally be, which I wouldn't discount, they're beautiful things to do, and we should fill our lives with those, but it can literally be 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting out in the sunshine and listening to the birds.
Could it be called a my time?
My time as well. Yeah. Absolutely, it's my time. For sure.
Wow.
Or it could be phoning a friend that you love speaking to and laughing.
Yeah.
So it could also be connection time.
Oh, that's good.
But it is time designed around what you need in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So my third discovery is what I call aliveness. By aliveness, I mean that I now pursue those things that make me feel alive, that I'm passionate about, that are creative and give me joy. Previously, my focus was all about working hard, with an intense determination and quite a fair degree of struggle. Now it's about finding and pursuing what feels aligned, what I'm passionate about, and being prepared to move on if something doesn't resonate with me. My fourth category, my fourth discovery, simplicity. I'm now finding that I want to live a much simpler life. I want fewer possessions, and I want fewer things that I have to manage that previously took up a lot of my time and resources. I want to have less to do in order to make room for more of what I want to do. It's important for me to be surrounded by nature and beauty and to have ample leisure time to replenish and to deeply connect with myself and others. So I want to take away some of those things that in my life that, running around cleaning a big house and looking after a big garden and, running staff and all of those other things, to now just come really back to the simplicity, come back to nature, come back to connections with both me and to others. So simplicity, that for me has been a really, really big one.
That's beautiful. What you're saying, those 4 points, reminds me of how tribal communities live as a tribe person.
Yep.
Without that need of ownership, but that sharing and that tribal. So you really stepped into that whole essence of what we are as a human, really, in a tribal situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Tribal life. It's beautiful.
And that's really coming back to the meaning of deep connections with people and nature over the quest for, I'm going to just say, material possessions, but it's bigger than material possessions, but it's just...
It's the being in the tribe, in the tribe of nature. It's not as a group people, but in a tribe of nature, of environment, and that's the tribal. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's your next point?
Next point is sovereignty. So I've become more aware of my intuition and what feels right for me. So it helps me have more sovereignty over decisions which affect me and more empowerment to make choices that are right for me, even if others around me don't agree. I think previously I was far more prepared to outsource that power to others who may have had some form of authority over me, or even, say, more expertise in a particular situation. Now it's not, obviously I don't discount their views, they're very important, but they're one piece in the puzzle. It's feeling into what is right for me, and sometimes I find myself making decisions that others wouldn't agree with, but I know for me they feel right, and I feel quite centred now in my ability to make those sorts of choices.
Yes, you do. I know. Please, more?
More. Next one, boundaries. So I'm a people pleaser. I now call myself a reforming people pleaser. And this has been hard for me, but I'm now so much better at setting and, importantly, expressing healthy boundaries to communicate to others how I wish to be treated and the ways in which I'll no longer allow other people to treat me. Yeah, that's been a big one for me. Previously I was very good at thinking it and internalising it, but not saying it or leaving it so long that when it came out, it often came out in an unkind way, because by then, my anger and the eruption and things got in the way.
Do you think that's also a female thing that we have been programmed to over the centuries?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I don't think it's just purely female, though. I think irrespective of gender, many people struggle to set healthy boundaries and communicate.
That's true. You're quite right. It is males and females, yes. Wow.
But I do think a number of females are in the category of those who struggle here. Yeah. Yeah, it can be really hard, and can take a lot of courage to get round to having a difficult conversation, but one you need to have to talk about how someone's impacting you. If it doesn't,
because how can you be fulfilled if you can't fill yourself?
Correct.
You know, you can't.
And how do you attract the right sort of relationships and people into your life if you allow people to railroad you or abuse you?
Because you only attract what you don't need, but it's what you're used to. So if you change your thought processes and your acceptance, you might feel as though you're lonely, but you're really rich with your own being.
Correct.
Yeah.
And sometimes that act of ending relationships, because to be honest, sometimes this does lead to ending relationships, which indeed it did in my life. But it makes room then for people who are more in tune with who you are and who you want in your life. So it makes the room for them to come into your life. And you've got more of those that come into your life? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Now, well, since we've known each other, the amazing warmth that and the honesty that you express is such a it's like a tonic.
Oh, thank
it's
you.
lovely. Oh, have we got more?
We do. Oh, we got two more. Two to go.
Good.
The next one is some way a bit related to the previous one. Feeling free to express who I am. There is no doubt that I suppressed a very big part of myself to be successful in my profession, and I'm sure, as with most people, this probably happens from birth in the family unit. You play your role in the family unit, and that kind of defines then some of our behavioural characteristics. I'm now getting to know that part of me that I suppressed and bringing her back out into the world. So again, it's been quite challenging. It's required me to face fears and to say some things that I've found uncomfortable, but it's also been unbelievably liberating and wondrous.
Whew.
And lastly, I called it being. What I mean by this is being the change that I want to see in the world and inspiring hopeful change for others and the planet. So my journey, I think, typifies on a micro scale some of what's happening in the macro world. You know, we're living unbalanced lifestyles. We're not thriving. We're not in harmony. And one of the ways, I mean, I can't change the world. I do despair about our future, but I am an optimist that all of this comes to the surface and gives us an opportunity to change. And for my part, I feel that through this transformational journey that I've been on, and by embracing a new way of being, I am then embodying the change that I hope to see happen on a more macro scale going into the future.
Well, thank you. By talking today, we don't know how many people that you are going to reach out to just by your talk, your words. These podcasts will always be on and going. They'll never be erased. They'll just be going. So if it's not today, tomorrow, down the track, someone will hear what you said. I can do it too. And the gift that you are giving us, that's priceless. And it can save lives, it can build lives, it can restore the balance. What I've got out of that is you now love who you are.
Learning to love who I am.
Well, I think you're already there because I think you have to be able to want to share this very personal, intimate stuff, which is brilliant. But I think you love who you are and you have achieved that status.
Thank
and
you.
I want to say thank you so much. And I'm sure everyone's saying, oh, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you from my heart to yours for inviting me to share my story with you.